Hello, today I'll be going over 9.7, which is solve quadratic systems. So there's two different ways to solve these. You can either solve by substitution or elimination, and you'll either have no solutions, which means the graphs won't cross each other. One solution, that means the graphs will only hit at one point or intersect at one point, and two solutions, so that means the graphs will intersect at 2 points. So in this first one, we have x squared plus y squared minus 25 equals 0 and y equals 2x plus 10. And we want to solve by substitution. So that means we're going to plug in 2x minus 10 in for y in the first equation. So then we get x squared plus 2x minus 10 squared minus 25 equals 0. Next, we're going to multiply 2x minus 10 squared. And that's going to be 4x squared minus 40x plus 100 minus 25 equals 0. Then we'll want to combine like terms. So we can add the x squareds together and add the constants together. So that'll be 5x squared minus 40x plus 75 equals 0. Next, we're going to factor, but we want to first make sure we take out the GCF, and in this case, the GCF is 5. So that'll be x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. So next we want to find two numbers that will multiply to 15 and add to negative 8. So that's going to be negative 5 and negative 3. And on top will be x. So we have x minus 5 times x minus 3 equals 0. And we can set each one equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals 5 and x equals 3. So that means the graphs will intersect at 2 points. And now we want to plug this back into the equation to solve for y. It would be easier to plug it into the second equation, so that's what I'm going to do. So we get y equals 2 times 5 minus 10. So that's 10 minus 10, which is 0. So that's when x was 5. So 5, 0 is going to be one of our answers. And the other one is when x is 3. So we get 6 minus 10, which is negative 4. So 3 negative 4 is the other answer. Okay, in this next one, we don't have a variable isolated already, but we can easily do that using the first equation. We can add 3x to both sides. So we would get y equals 3x plus 6. And just like with the first equation, we're going to substitute. So I'm going to plug this in for y here. So that's going to be 8x plus 3x plus 6 squared plus 24 equals 0. When we multiply that out, that'll be 9x squared plus 36x plus 36 plus 24 equals 0. Then we can combine like terms. We'll get 9x squared plus 44x plus 60 equals 0. And we can't factor this using the x method, so we have to use the quadratic formula. So that's going to be negative 44 plus minus the square root of 44 squared minus 4 times 9 times 60 over 2 times 9. And the number inside the square root, this part here, is actually going to be negative. So that means there is no solution. So we won't be dealing with any imaginary numbers. Wait, sorry, just kidding. It's actually not no solution. Okay, so 44 squared is 1936, and 4 times 9. Oh, oops, this is 60. Wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. It is no solution. So inside the square root ends up being negative 224. And since this is a negative, this is going to be no solution. So yeah, again, we won't be dealing with any imaginary numbers. Okay, number 3. Again, we're solving by substitution. So we're going to be plugging in x minus 4 in for y. So that'll be x squared plus x minus 4 squared equals 20. So that's x squared plus x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 20. Then we'll want to combine like terms and move everything to the left. So that's 2x squared minus 8x, and I'm going to be subtracting 20. So that'll be negative 4 equals 0. The GCF we can factor out is 2. So that'll be x squared minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. And then we'll have to try to factor x squared minus 4x minus 2, but no numbers will multiply to negative 2 and add to negative 4, so we'll have to use the quadratic equation. So that'll be 4 plus or minus negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 over 2 times 1. And we'll get 6 inside the square root. Sorry, we'll get we'll get 16 plus 8, which is square root of 24 over 2. And 24 breaks up into 4 and 6, and 4 is 2 and 2. 6 is 2 and 3. So there are a pair of 2's that can come out. So this would equal 4 plus or minus 2 rad 6 over 2. And since all 3 of these numbers are divisible by 2, we can simplify this to 2 plus or minus square root of 6. So that's what x equals. So then we're going to plug this into the second equation to solve for y. So y equals 2 plus rad 6 minus 4. So that'll be negative 2 plus rad 6. So one of the points is 2 plus rad 6 and negative 2 plus rad 6. And the next one is when we plug in 2 minus rad 6. So that'll be y equals negative 2 minus rad 6. So that was 2 minus rad 6, negative 2 minus rad 6. So those would be the 2 answers. Okay, number 4, we have a long equation. So first I'm going to solve for y in the second equation. So I'm going to add 7 and subtract 2x on both sides. So then I'll get y equals negative 2x plus 7. And I'm going to plug this in for all of the y's in the first equation. So that'll be 4x squared minus negative 2x plus 7 squared minus 32x minus 2 times negative 2x plus 7 equals negative 59. Next, I'm going to multiply everything out. So I'll get 4x squared minus 4x squared plus 28x plus 49 minus 32x plus 4x plus 14 equals negative 59. Okay, next I'm going to distribute the negative. So that'll be 4x squared minus 4x squared minus 28x, minus 49 minus 32x plus 4x plus 14 equals negative 59. So I can combine like terms. We can add the x squareds together, so that's going to be 0. We have negative 28x minus 32x plus 4x, and that's going to be negative 56x. And we have negative 49 plus 14, and that's going to be negative 35. So we're going to add 35 to both sides, and we get negative 56x equals negative 24. And then we can divide both sides by negative 56. And we can simplify the answer to 3 over 7, since we can divide both by 8. Okay, so now we can plug this into the equation to solve for y. So y is going to equal negative 2 times 3 over 7 plus 7. So that's negative 6 over 7 plus 7. And we can change 7 to 49 over 7. So that's going to be 43 over 7. So the final answer would be 3 over 7, 43 over 7. Okay, next is solving by elimination. So if you remember when we did systems of linear equations, we want to cancel out one of the variables. So in the first problem, right away we can cancel out the y squared. So when we add these will cancel out, and we're just going to add everything vertically. So 6x squared plus x squared is 7x squared, and negative 15 minus or plus negative 13 is negative 28. And from here we can solve for x. So we can add 28 to both sides. We'll get 7x squared equals 28. Then divide by 7. We get x squared equals 4. And then square root both sides. So x will equal plus or minus 2. Okay, next we'll have to plug in x in to find y. So I'm going to choose the bottom equation just because the numbers look a little easier to work with. So we got 2 squared plus y squared minus 13 equals 0. So that's 4 plus y squared minus 13 equals 0. And we'll get y squared minus 9 equals 0. Add 9 to both sides. So y squared equals 9. And then we're going to square root both sides. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Okay, and then we're going to square root both sides. So we'll get y equals plus or minus 3. And we'll actually get the same answer when x is negative 2, because negative 2 squared is also 4. Because the only difference would be the step here. So we don't really have to redo the whole problem to get y equals plus or minus 3. So there are actually 4 answers for this one. There's 2, 3. Oh, oops, hold on. There's 2, 3, 2, negative 3. And if we plugged in negative 2, we would get the same answers. So negative 2, 3, and negative 2, negative 3. So these 4 points are the solution. Okay, next one we have x squared minus 2y equals 6, and x squared minus y squared equals negative 27. So in this case, we can't cancel out the y's because one is just y and one is y squared, so we have to cancel out the x. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by a negative. So the top one's going to stay the same. And the bottom one becomes negative x squared plus y squared equals 27. So now when we add them, the x squareds are going to cancel out, and we have y squared minus 2y. We can't combine them because one is y squared and one is y. And 6 plus 27 is 33. So next we'll want to move the 33 over to see if we can factor. So we get y squared minus 2y minus 33 equals 0. And there aren't two numbers that will multiply to negative 33 and add to negative 2, so we have to use the quadratic equation. So we get y equals 2 plus or minus 4, 2 squared, or negative 2 squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 33 over 2 times 1. So then we get 2 plus or minus square root of 136 over 2. 136 would break up into 2 and 68. 68 is 2 and 34, and 34 is 2 and 17. So there is a pair of 2's that can come out of the square root. So we get 2 plus or minus 2 rad 34 over 2. And since all three of these are divisible by 2, we can simplify this to 1 plus or minus square root of 34. Okay, so since we have to solve for y and to solve, since we have to solve for x next, and we'll have to square root or factor to solve for x, I'm actually going to find the decimal solutions. So 1 plus square root of 34 is going to be 6.831, and 1 minus square root of 34 is negative 4.831. So these are the 2 points I'm going to plug in for y. And I'm going to choose to plug it into the first equation because then I don't have to square anything. So that'll be 2 times 6.831 equals 6. And that's going to be negative 13.662 equals 6. And then we're going to add 13.662 to the other side. So we get x squared equals 19.662. Then we can square root both sides, and we'll get x equals plus minus 4.434. So there's going to be 2 points, plus or minus 4.434 when y is 6.831. So that's going to be part of our answer. And then next we'll have to plug in negative 4.831 in for y. So x squared, hold on, I'm going to write this underneath here. X squared minus 2 times negative 4.831 equals 6. So then that's going to be x squared plus 9.662 equals 6. Then we have to subtract 9.662. So we get x squared equals negative 3.662. And this is going to be no solution when y equals negative 4.831, because when we square root it, we can't take the square root of a negative number. So the only answer would be this one here, plus or minus 4.434,